Was writing actually first invented in southeastern Europe? Let's talk about the controversial Vinca symbols. These undeciphered symbols are found on artifacts associated with the Neolithic Vinca culture. The name comes from a Serbian village where the artifacts were first excavated. And what's crazy is that most of these symbols are dated to around 4000 to 4500 BC. That's well over 1,000 years before writing is traditionally thought to have been invented in Sumeria. But the debate isn't really about how old they are, but about whether they actually constitute writing. The distinction between drawing and writing can get kind of blurred sometimes, so it's important to clarify what academics mean when they say writing. So for instance, if I draw a stick figure, most people would just say that's drawing, but then if I draw a stick figure and then an arrow and then a deer and then a man eating, then you kind of would see that almost like writing. It's like I'm communicating the idea of hunting or something. But even that isn't really what academics mean when they talk about writing. In this case, it's about representing spoken language with symbols. So the symbols don't represent ideas, they represent language. Some of you might be thinking, oh wait, does that mean Chinese doesn't have writing because they use a logographic writing system? Well no, because each Chinese symbol in context has an understood reading out loud. For anyone literate in standard Mandarin, if you give them the same paragraph of characters, they're going to pronounce them in roughly the same way. Any system of symbols that doesn't really have that going for it is usually not called writing. It's not necessarily drawing, but it's not writing. Despite looking like writing for all intents and purposes, there's a decent amount of evidence that the Vinca symbols don't represent language in this way. For instance, the vast majority of artifacts contain so few symbols that they couldn't feasibly represent like a sentence or something. And when they do appear together, there's no like regular orientation of the symbols like normal writing, and there's no recurring sign combinations. Like even for logographic writing systems like Chinese, you reuse certain combinations of symbols a lot because you reuse certain combinations of words a lot. Some of the symbols appear to have meaning, but also a lot of them just seem like they're used for ornamentation or decoration. Another thing is, unlike Sumer, the Vinca culture didn't really have complex cities. So it's kind of hard to imagine that these symbols would have been accounting or record keeping because it wouldn't have been as important to their culture. So in summary, they're usually called proto-writing because some of them seem to have meaning, but they don't really appear to represent language. They're still really cool and probably some of the oldest examples of proto-writing that we have, but probably not the first writing.